All right, I think I'm on the, oh great. I'm on this thing instead of standing over there, which is good. My name's Bill McIlroy. I'm representing a big group of people who are involved in things going forward. So I'm just a voice of many. I've listed a few names. You'll find those folks over there. So if you have a chance after my talk today to wander over to the ONDRI at home, there'll be lots of things you can see and play with. And so I'd encourage you to do that. But my purpose here today is, whoa, I've lost my first slide. That's not a good start. Wow, goodness gracious. Well, my very first slide, which was my most important slide, is not here. That slide was just reminding us why we were all here. The sort of purpose and mission of ONDRI under the umbrella of OBI clearly articulated this importance of advancing understanding and tools to improve diagnosis, prognosis, care, health and wellness. I mean, that really is our mandate. And I'm going to talk to you today about some widgets and stuff, but we got to keep our eye on the prize about this. This is not about the widgets I'm about to talk to you. It's about what the widgets can do for early detection, to influence health outcomes, to improve care, to empower individuals to take opportunities to know their health better so they can do things on their own. So I want to make sure that I reinforce that all the way through this. The widgets are cool. They're really, really neat. But unless they have meaningful outcomes, they're just toys. So we're going to try to tell you how we're going to move past the toys to important tools. This slide, which is my second most important slide, and my second slide, they get least important as we go through, just was a reminder of all the things that had been done in ONDRI 1, all of those assessments, comprehensive, unique, you've heard about it from others, this really remarkable database, and really it's all possible because of all the people who participated. So I would share my thanks to everybody, family, friends, the participants. This is not possible without you, and it's not possible with OBI's support, and certainly thanks to all the researchers and clinicians involved too as well, but thanks needs to go out to all of you. Where all this leads us really is to new understanding. You've heard of some of that today, and more of that will happen from that rich database, but it also hopefully advances to new tools, new tests, new treatments. We hope that all is the product of this. Improved diagnosis, care, and health outcomes. That's the foundation. But we're going to try to do things a little different going forward. You're pretty used to being in the clinic. You've been to the clinic, I'm sure, been tested, had evaluations, see the physicians, see your clinicians. You do that all the time. And yet there is an important message today about us being able to measure things when you're out of the clinic, at home, in the community. The messages that are learned from there are, we sort of equate them to a movie. You go to your clinician, you get a picture, you get a snapshot. But if we were able to collect data continuously at home in the community, we get a movie. And why is that movie important? The movie is important because some of the things we worry about happen infrequently. Some of the symptoms or the things that happen ebb and flow throughout a day or throughout a week. And they're not always easy to capture in a snapshot. We think there's going to be important information that informs us about better care, diagnosis, prediction, if we can measure things outside the clinic at home. And this refers to the ONDRI at home, where we're trying to use in early days simple technologies to capture health information at home. Why do we do that? Certainly, we can do a better job of tracking the progression of things, identifying important events. They could be events that require urgent attention. They could be events that require the attention of a clinician instead of waiting to get back to the clinic. We could evaluate tools that might better detect the onset of things, early detection. We have a unique opportunity, if you can measure outside the clinic, to evaluate the effectiveness of treatments. Imagine, for example, that your medication has a particular outcome. You take your medication, and we're tracking immediately after that medication was taken, if the half-life is quite quick. So there's lots of opportunities we have if we're looking at the movie of your health and not just at the picture of your health. And certainly the one that was mentioned by McIIroy is about empowering individuals with their own health information to make healthy decisions and choices. Can we provide feedback to individuals that allow them to know what's going on, that they can affect behavior change. But it also helps to reduce some of the burden. You're going to still go to clinic for things. That's not going to change. There's still going to be a need for that. But we can reduce the burden there. We can do things, and we've had this feedback, we can reduce the need for self-report. And we're going to talk a little bit about some things we'll have to do at the end of this related to that issue of self-report. So here's the part that's exciting, but potentially anxiety-provoking. Technology is changing fast. You all know this. My TV talks to me. I don't press a button anymore. It talks to me. My car everybody talks to me. Well, my family doesn't talk to me, but all my devices talk to me. Technology is changing fast. It's changing around us quickly. And it gets very exciting about the possibility that these technologies can provide. And I can share with you the many and many innovations around health measurement of people. This is just a sample from a paper of all the things you can wear to assess all the things that your behaviors or your physiology or your health. But the bit of the problem is the concern that some of these are about the tools and not about the problems they solve. In other words, the tools become things looking for a solution. And we'd like to do this in a different way. We want to do this where the problems or the challenges we face are driving our technology solutions. That's what is going to make us successful in this venture. I'll give you two examples. Well, I'll show you the one on the right. 1963 was the first portable worn television. Yeah, I don't know if we need it. But that's what it looked like. I suppose part of the mission here was trying to find with your antennas the right spot moving about. I suppose that was part of the mission. And then the one that came out of this year's Computer Engineering Expo was the Belty. The Belty was an automatically adjusting belt. It had sensors to sense the tension, and if you ate too much at Thanksgiving dinner, it would loosen off the belt automatically. You wouldn't have to do it. It would do it for you. Yeah, I'm not sure we need those. Maybe we do. Maybe some people do. But anyway, sometimes there's a technology in search of a problem. If you know the problem, and we're going to begin to accumulate the challenges from everybody's perspective, but if you know the problem, even now we struggle with, okay, which widget? They're growing so fast. There are so many out there, all doing various things and different things. And if you're not careful, you end up looking like that. Yes. You and I are on the same page. Yeah, it's very scary. Yeah, yeah. So, I don't usually put cartoons in, but this one did make me chuckle. So you might say, there's this emerging opportunity to measure health. It's quite exciting. And I hope when you leave today, you are as excited about the opportunity as I am, aware that our mission with you as partners moving forward is to help do this right. You might say, well, why not just use a Fitbit? Anybody got a Fitbit on? No. Okay, well, Carl's got a Fitbit. Well, why not use a Fitbit? Fitbit's very interesting technology. It's very cool. What is it? I don't have one on. This is something different, but it has an accelerometer in it, three-dimensional accelerometer. When you move it, you can record your movement of your arm. It also has a way to measure heart rate, and it does that. You'll see little red and green lights, and it pulses the red light in, and it measures the absorption of that light coming back, and it measures blood flow. Wow, that's pretty neat. Heart rate and movement, and lots of people are using this. There's a few problems for our application. What does it actually measure? Acceleration and heart rate, that's principally what it does. It goes off to calculate all sorts of things, steps, activity, the calories burned. These are all estimates. And they're usually day summaries. They don't really help us too much because we need to get more granular. We need to get more detailed. But more concerning is they won't tell us how they calculate it. We've been in contact with the companies to try to get information because we need to understand. We need to have good standards to do this right. And one of the other things from these currently commercial devices is they're really not validated. They are meant for applications like active people to measure running, and it can do a good job of detecting high levels of heart rate and running and how far you've gone. It's all quite good for that. but it's not really ideal for the kinds of measures we think are important. And here's just an example, and I believe I have a little magic laser pointer. Woohoo! So I feel pretty satisfied I just did that. That was going to take a long time for me to figure out. So this just shows you a little bit of data. I don't want to overwhelm you with any bit of data, but here's actual heart rate measured in the way you would do it, gold standard, which is ECG. You've had the electrodes on, measure your heart, electrical activity of the heart. This is what was measured, the black line, and the gray line in behind it is actually what the Fitbit was recording. And at any moment in time over a 15-second interval, it could be different by 40 to 50 beats a minute. So it's pretty cool technology, but these aren't going to do it for us. These aren't going to get us where we need to get to. And I'm going to share 2 stories with you. And these are stories that involve real data. The names are not the names, and the pictures are not the people. But I'll tell you about these 2 examples, just to make 2 points. First of all, there was this person, Evan, who was constantly tired, particularly at work, and self-reported that it was the stress of the job. You know, I'm up early, I work late, I'm just always tired. Now, we've been collecting data constantly for the last, I guess, year on lots of different people, including some older adults who will serve as controls as we go forward. And this person was in that group. And otherwise healthy, no disease diagnosis. And we monitored their activity, and we monitored their sleep. And you heard about how sleep's important. And there's lots of evidence that sleep is critical, both to good brain health and as a marker of changes. It turns out, when they wore the sleep monitor for 7 days, they realized that their sleep was quite fragmented. They did not sleep as good as they thought they slept. And all that they wore was that. And back came some very detailed information about their sleep quality. And people like Dr. Andrew Lim, expert in this area, could reveal quite a bit about what that story might tell. That information empowered that individual themselves to say, maybe I could just shift things around a bit, try to improve my sleep. And the one thing they did is they shifted their activity that they were doing every day, 30 minutes, and they did it near the end of the day instead of in the middle of the day. And then self-reported later that they slept better and confirmed it. A bit of data for them. They didn't go for clinical support here. They just made a decision to try to resolve it and measure it, with the hopes that they could sleep as peacefully as the baby over there. That person was me. This data has changed what I do. I get nervous when people tell me about how bad sleep is for my health. I want to make sure I sleep well. That's my data. I've been wearing these devices for weeks on end, and I'm learning more about, I thought I was doing okay, just really tired all the time. It turns out there's more going on, and I was empowered by having that information. This is not me. Another example, but another message about little things that make a big difference. We've been collecting data in older adults in some retirement communities, and it's been a really useful process to understand, people's feedback about wearing these and using these. And one of the things we're interested in is people activity patterns, because they're important for health, and sleep patterns are important for health. And there was one individual, which we will call Lydia, who was extremely active. They had a walker, though. They were a slow walker, but they walked a lot, and they walked at a fairly fast rate for them. And they exercised every day on a new step device, because that was the easiest way to do the exercises. Now, do you know what the most common way to measure activity right now, even in the literature of researchers, is you wear one on the wrist or you wear one on the hip? That's the 2 most common ways to wear it. Well, this is interesting because on that new step, neither the hip nor the wrist really move too much, and the legs are busy. And when she walks, she doesn't walk at a very high pace. Her legs do lots of moving, but her hands on her walker don't move much. So when we applied the rules of the best practice today with hip and wrist worn, they said she didn't do any activity. And she was depressed. It wasn't us that gave her the feedback. It was the other parts of the study partners. They came back and said, you got to act more. And she came back and said, wait, I'm always active. We also had the ankles on. The ankles confirmed she was very active. This was the simple repositioning of that sensor to a better spot. In other words, find better standards to measure what you need to measure. 2 good stories, simple stories, but good stories. So we need to get this correct. What's that mean? We need to make sure that the things we're going to measure meet the needs of the users and the care providers. They provide information to health outcomes. It's not just a widget that we're trying to use. We want to advance new understanding. Part of this has to be accumulating data that keeps us moving forward. And we need to really make a difference. There has to be a tangible benefit to using these. The tools we use must be usable, and I mean usable, I mean really usable. That is, we have had individuals give us real and honest feedback about the use for these and how we should adapt and change them. They need to be personalized. This is not everybody wearing a million things. This is adapting them. We need to learn the lessons that they're personalized, validated, and they need to protect privacy. So I introduced you just one very quick comment about the ReMiNDD study. It's the next step in our process. It's a feasibility study where we're using a subset of these measures, 7-day collection in individuals with neurodegenerative disease. The objectives of this are pretty straightforward. We're going to evaluate the usability and validate some ready for prime time sensors that assess sleep, activity, your heart health, and speech. We're going to look towards what's the minimum number of sensors. How can we tailor this down becomes even more useful? Minimize things. Try not to have too many widgets at the end of the day. And we need to develop rigorous methods. We need good data analytics and pipelines. And this is why this is big data. This is large volumes of data that have to be presented back to people in a meaningful way. It has to be meaningful to the user who wants to use it to influence their health, and it has to be meaningful to the clinicians who are going to make important clinical decisions. So we have to take all of that data, protect it, ensure it's appropriate, and then deliver it in ways that are useful. That's all part of this exercise. It all has to be done so we get it right. So this is how, now I can't get rid of my little laser. I forgot it was there all the time. Oh, I'll leave it just because it's fun to move it around. So imagine this for a minute. These are all important measures. Amount of time in sedentary, light, modern physical activity, bout durations, total activity, characteristics of walking, step symmetry, how fast you walk, the details of that walking, non-wear time, energy expenditure, sleep duration, number of arousals, I'll go on and on and on. All of these measures. That's a lot of important health measures. Not possible on a Fitbit. How would I possibly get all of that? Spoken word, talk about cognition, talk about emotional aspects of conversation. How do we do that? I'm wearing all that gear right now. I have all that stuff on to do all that right now. I have my wrist-worn one that helps me with sleep. I have my ankle-worn one on that helps me with gait, movement. I have my heart rate monitor on here. I don't want to do but right there. And I have my speech one on right there. All of these devices that I can wear for extended periods of time are busy collecting data. And our challenge is to transform that into meaningful health data to both influence and help the user and to help the clinician. There are other things on the horizon. Along that list, you saw neuropsychology, you saw brain imaging, and there are going to be ways to transport some of that to home. 7 days worth of data right here. Wow, that looks like a mess. How would you ever turn anything? Well, first thing I'm going to show you is, in theory, there's a sleep-wake cycle here. In theory, this is somebody who was active, then went to sleep, and then got up, and then that's hard to find. This person's got some sleep challenges. There are not extended periods here of inactivity, which we would expect. So let's zoom in a little bit. Let's just zoom in on this 24-hour period then. Let's just zoom in on this period here. Here's where they went to sleep, right there. I'm zooming in on the data now. There they went to sleep. The temperature sensor tells us they went to sleep. It's a change in the autonomic nervous system, so we can tell off the temperature sensor that's on this device that they're sleeping, as well as some other measures. They went to sleep and they woke up, and they went to sleep again and woke up, and you can see the fragmented sleep. Here's their activity during the day, and we're going to zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to zoom in to this little period of time. This is now 30 minutes in the middle of the night. 30 minutes in the middle of the night. And I can tell you that they got out of bed, they stood up, they moved a little bit, but not much, and then went on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bouts of walking. I can't tell you what they did. We don't have all that information. Context will be important at some point. But this is somebody who was standing for 30 minutes and walking about. Maybe they went down to wash the dishes and fill their time. Whatever it was, they were not sleeping. I'm going to zoom in some more. I'm going to take 100 seconds out of one of those bouts of walking. And here they start walking. I can measure how they gait initiate. I can tell what foot they start with. I can tell if they're having difficulty starting. I can tell if they're perseverating. That's possible with this data because we're looking at very fine resolution data. I can tell their steady state gait, and then periods where that gait gets broken up, it's more inconsistent. Is it a fall risk period? It's not clear. We'll have to continue to work on these. Is this a period of difficulty in control or just an environmental situation? There's a pause. Looks like a near stumble again, and then back walking. We have to disentangle some of these things, but the message I'm trying to share with you, if I zoom into 10 seconds, I can see every footfall. I can see every step they took. So here's the difference between this widget that I have on my ankle and not treating it like a Fitbit, which is just going to count my steps. I can get a lot of information. I can get about the quality of walking. I can get issues of fall risk prediction, likely off these devices with high precision. I can get sleep quality information from this stuff. I can get activity bouts and intensity and how fast you walked. And if you've had a stroke and your gait is asymmetric, I can tell you more about that. And if you practice these things, and so on and so on and so on. That one widget creates tons of data the way it's collected. It informs information about health, but it also advances our knowledge. It helps us do other things. It's not just a summary measure. That's why it's important to use the right devices. So, lessons learned from ONDRI 1, lessons learned from the ReMiNDD study prepare us to move forward onto other bigger and broader things. And one of the very first important steps we want to do, even though we're a ways away from that, is we need to continue to gather now more information from the users about what is important at home that we should be measuring. So, so you might ask, well, who would I ask? Well, of course, that's obvious. We ask you, your family and friends. We do ask the care providers. The critical piece of this is your partnership in this exercise. Your partnership to help us get it right. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start this exercise. We're happy to share these with us personally, but we always have over there at the table, we've got some, we're gathering information. What are the things you think about at home, if you think about at home in your daily life that you think would be useful to monitor, either for you or for your caregivers? What are the priorities you would like to record at home? So we have this survey that we're hoping to be the first start of this exercise. 5 minutes to complete. There's a paper copy. There's an online version. You can do it later. You don't have to do it today. But if you're willing in this partnership, it would be great. 3 questions. What are the symptoms and challenges you find difficult to relay to your caregiver? What are the things that you feel throughout your day that you wish you could convey that information more clearly? You don't need to know how to measure it. I don't need you to do that. I just need you to tell me it's a concern or a problem for you. We'll try to figure out how to measure it. What are the aspects of your daily life you think would be important for you to capture at home? I've mentioned one, sleep for me is something I now monitor with the right devices all the time. Not all the time, but I keep track of it. And then we want you to rank your top 3 health aspects of health you think you would like to measure that you think might positively impact you. Now, this is not just about the user, but family and friends. It's from multiple perspectives. If you're a care provider or you're a family or friend, use your perspective. Don't forecast what you think your spouse or your colleague would wish to put in. Put in what you think your perspective. We want varied perspectives. So that's a survey. The survey opportunity to participate. The ReMiNDD study, if you're interested, more details. If you want to just see the widgets, they're over there and you can wiggle them around. And those very intelligent people here that make me look better will help you out. So thank you very much.